City Council. Thank you. Today is March 7. This is 2023. This is the Beacon Hill Council meeting. Our first guest is Seattle City Council member, the Honorable Sara Nelson. Ms. Nelson will be talking to us about her interest for about 5 minutes or so, and then our interest, and then we'll have Q&A. So we have 15 minutes with her. Go ahead, please.
Hello, everybody. This is the first time that I have been to a community council meeting in this neighborhood since I have been elected. So thank you very much. It's good to see some familiar faces and meet some new folks. So Sara Nelson, and I am in position 9, which is the at-large council member seat, and there are 2 of us. I am chair of economic development, technology, and city light. And then I also sit on public safety, finance and housing, neighborhoods. I always can't remember all of them, but there's 6 altogether. So I'm lucky to be able to be involved in lots of different kinds of policy. However, my sweet spot is economic development. And this year, I am looking forward to advancing many of the initiatives, either those on my own or in support of the Office of Economic Development, which is going to be coming out with some plans, because I am focused on, if not preventing, at least slowing the displacement of small businesses owned by people of color in neighborhoods across the city. And I don't have to tell you why those business owners are so vulnerable. You are in an area of, in transition. So that's what happens. And so one thing that I have been doing, however, in the economic front is I recently, at the end of last year, established a film commission, Seattle Film Commission. You might think, why is that important? Well, film is the most commercially viable sector of the creative economy. And by that, I mean it employs the greatest diversity of creatives in artistic disciplines, and that spill over into technology and the service sector, et cetera. So that is really exciting. And this past Thursday, we issued the call for nominations and applications. And so I should have mentioned this, but Stephen is my policy director. He's in one of these tiles, and he's also my committee clerk. And he will be, I believe he has a link to the website in case you or someone you know is passionate about the film industry and would like to apply. Anyway, so that is a current project that I am working on. And I would say that the 2 other issues that will be taking up time, one sort of accidentally, which is public safety, because I am economic development chair. I'm the go-to person for small businesses across the city who want the city to be to step up the pace of improving public safety. And so therefore, and if you read the papers or watch any of the reports, it really is phenomenal what small businesses are having to, are experiencing repeat thefts and property damage, but not just property crimes, it's also threats against their employee and customers. And so that is an ongoing issue that I am involved in by nature of my committee assignment and because of my interest. But I am also hoping to advance an initiative last year, which was to expand the options for substance use disorder treatment. I advanced a pilot project during the budget last fall, and it didn't succeed. But we have to meet people where they're at in their chemical dependency, and that means expanding what we offer now to recovery-based treatment, inpatient, extensive outpatient, contingency management. My point is that I do believe that that substance use disorder is I'm not going to call it a cause or defect, but it's intertwined with both our homelessness and our public safety crises. And so those are some of the things that I'll be working on this year. And I am happy to stop talking right now and listen to what you have to say about your interests, or go on and ask me questions. Thanks.
Thank you so much. What I'm doing is I'm going to look around the room to see whose hands may be up or is willing to. And while I'm doing that, we, Beacon Hill Council would love to sit down with you. We have a town center that has been sitting on the shelf for a long time, and we really like to revitalize that plan. That plan was developed, it cost the city $800,000, and it's just been set aside, and that will contribute to the vibrancy of the North Beacon Hill area. And then there's a couple of areas in Beacon Hill, one in particular that there is interest in having that small area be zoned as a business and residential area, because people are beginning to look at food access and what's possible. So I just wanted to throw those comments in while we're waiting, looking around to see if.
And that jogged my memory. I am also on the land use committee, and land use was dear to my heart when I was a staffer for Councilmember Richard Conlon. That's in the era that I met you, Maria. So I look forward to sitting down with you and learning about your plan and thinking about how to advance it. Thanks.
Absolutely. I see Betty Jean Williamson. Go ahead, please.
Hi. I would like to bring to your attention that you were talking about the issue of crime and small business, and we've had a string of break-ins along all of the businesses around Beacon Avenue and Hanford. The El Catzell restaurant has been broken into 3 times this year. The coffee shop there, Victrola, no longer accepts cash because they've been broken into so many times, and Bar del Corso was broken into. All 3 of them were broken into on the same night a week ago. So it's a serious problem there, and I don't know how to get better coverage for them in terms of policing or some assistance to their businesses in terms of better security. If their city, if these small businesses could get some support that way, that would be great. And in terms of permitting, we have at least 2, if not 3 businesses that have been trying to open for over a year that are being held up by permitting. And they're small businesses that are trying to reopen restaurants that have been displaced in our neighborhood and are trying to return. And it's really painful to watch them struggle through such long delays.
Yeah, either new businesses or businesses that are trying to do tenant improvements. If they got through the pandemic, the last thing they need is to be stalled by something that is within our power to improve. So thank you for that. I can't do 2 things at once. So Stephen, who is also my committee clerk, will be putting in contact information. I would like one person to, well, wait a minute. Normally, I would say I look forward to hearing more about some of your. I'll talk with Councilmember Morales. I like to defer to my colleagues in the district, but I was going to say assign one person to tell me about the permitting issues, and if you want, or and then I would like and then we can talk offline about some of the public safety things, because I don't know if if SPD has it on the radar that there's a spike here, or if you have contacted Dominique Stevens, who is the outreach. She's the external person in the mayor's office who responds to community complaints of crimes, not just one-off, but sort of clusters. But let's talk later, please.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's also information in the chat box. Mark Solomon, he works with he's our council member, and he's also he works with SPD. He said he'll follow up with the businesses that experiencing burglary and crime issues. Councilwoman Tammy Morales says that her understanding is that the permitting is with public health. So it sounds like we need to suss out some things before we go forward. But I do want to report out that Betty Jean and I and about, I think 25 other people were in a meeting with the mayor, and the owner of the coffee station did talk a lot about how long it takes the permitting. So it isn't, and he's an established business owner.
Knows
So-
how to work the ropes. So yeah, I've never understood. I mean, it is such an issue, and yet I can't even find the end of the ball of string to figure out how to start untangling it. It seemed so, but thank you very much for, I want that information because I know that our economic growth depends on, to a large extent, these small business being able to succeed, and other projects that could, or retail that could go to another city just because it's easier. So it is something that I'm concerned about.
And Councilmember Tamara Morales said that she's happy to follow up with OED and public health. Sounds like a collaboration for the two of you. This is
Maria, if I might,
this thing.
there's a few, when you're talking about a food related business, there's several places where they have to go to get permits, and all of them can take too long. So if it's a site development permit, a building permit, utility, that sort of thing would go through the city. But if it's related to the kitchen, where does the hand washing sink go? Does the stove have a hood? Where is the hood vent supposed to be situated? Does it vent out in the right place? All of those issues get permitted through the public health department. And the public health department is notoriously risk averse. And so it does make it much harder. But I will say I was at those businesses last summer and they were having problems. So I am disappointed and frustrated to hear that they still have not gotten their permits. I know they haven't opened yet, but I didn't realize it was still because of the permitting issues. So I'm happy to work with Councilmember Nelson and with the public health department to figure out how we get the ball rolling on those.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for that clarification. I focus on the building permit slowdowns. And so, I mean, that's what I hear most about. So yes, I think that you and I teaming up and getting to the bottom of it would be a great thing.
I'm looking around to see if there's others who might want to speak. Okay, I'm not seeing any more hands. Well, you did fantastic. We're a
Wait,
little
could I throw in one other issue that's
Yes.
just for Beacon Arts? Well, it's for our community, actually. We have this lovely facility called the Roberto Maestas Festival Street that's adjacent to the light rail station. And we have, for many years, Beacon Arts has been closing that street for events. And we did so last year for 6 monthly events, and we're doing that again this year. And last year, I finally found out that there was actually a permit to be able to use the light rail station, which is Plaza, which is adjacent. And so our street, Festival Street permit allows us to use from the edge of the sidewalk to the edge of the sidewalk, but everything south of the sidewalk on the light rail station side, we can't put a chair, we can't put a table without getting this second permit that I just learned about. And I am now researching what does that permit entitle us to? But my question is there a way for SDOT and Sound Transit to come to terms on how to permit the whole contiguous area for public use without making it so difficult for people to access? First,
Right.
information permits exist, and the second, how to get them and what they cost. It's very obtuse.
I first of all, I have to say, I don't know, but there ought to be, because here we are. I mean, here we have community that is doing something to, it's a public asset. I mean, what you are trying to accomplish. And so I believe that the city should start with yes, and then figure it out and work with our neighboring jurisdictions, be it the port or Sound Transit or whatever, just county, and see if there's a way. So another thing that Stephen is taking notes about that I can follow up on, and also, and Calvin Chow, I don't know if you know him, but he is our central staff member who knows all things Sound Transit. But and I will also talk with Councilmember Morales and find out if there's always something that's going on. I mean, the the depth of the story and the history I don't know much about. So I will learn and then see.
Yeah, well, for me, it's a 12-year saga. So
Oh,
I'd be happy to talk to somebody who can actually help.
all right. Red tape cutter in chief.
Excellent. I'll hold you to that. Thanks.
I will also say that there's just, there is an extra permit that is needed. It is very expensive. Sound Transit charges even small community organizations $1,000 for that street use permit, which is prohibitive for some of our smaller organizations. And there has been conversations started about trying to do a sliding scale for that permit fee. But an even better solution would be for SDOT and Sound Transit to work together to make that one permitting process for an event if the two properties are, adjacent. So I have a quarterly meeting with Sound Transit to talk about some safety issues on MLK. That meeting is scheduled for next week or maybe the week after that, but I'm happy to add this to the list of things to talk about in that meeting.
Thank you. Yeah, what I was told last year when I finally learned that there could be a permit for that area was that it was about $215 was what
Okay.
I was
let
quoted,
me-
but I don't know.
Let me step in. We have 1 minute and we have Adam Vance who has a question for Councilwoman Nelson.
Yeah, thanks for joining us tonight. Quick question. Was wondering your opinion on the middle housing bill that just passed in Olympia last night and how that might mix with the update to the comp plan coming up.
I have been watching that, but I did not know that it was last night and I have not had time to read the paper yet. Can we just roll the clock back and have it be a minute? I have to educate myself, but in general, I believe that that Seattle is doing, to my understanding, the elements that other cities will be doing are already happening in Seattle. We already have the runway for middle housing. I'm not saying I oppose it or not. However, I understand that the issues and I need to read the fine print. So, but here's the thing, I'm on the record as being pro density, pro growth. I mean, you can just look at my history. And I also recognize that I learned this in the campaign trail, that there are some neighborhoods that are very concerned about rapid gentrification and property taxes going up, and that's primarily in the central district. So I will look at that, but in general, I think that we need more housing, we need more density, and also other cities have to do their fair share, because we can't. Seattle can't be the only place that that values the environmental benefits that increased density bring. So that is my answer. But I will never say I support a bill without reading what it said in it. So, I mean, I can't, because, do you understand? Can you gather what I'm getting at without me saying yes or no? Because I would like to make sure I understand what came out.
Well, I appreciate that. So I'm going to be wrapping up. There is a project that we have engaged in. It was an anti-displacement survey that we conducted last year, and with a pro forma, and that addressed the housing, the search for below market housing, art spaces, and business spaces. So that'll be good to follow up. Well, everybody, please give a hand to Councilmember Sara Nelson for coming. So we appreciate it very much. Yay. Yes, there you go. And thank you for taking the time to come and visit with us. It won't be the first time, right?
No.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you. So I'm going to transition us. We have been receiving quite a number of inquiries regarding not just inquiries, but programs that people want to put together, ideas that they have that will benefit our youth. And so Marcus, if you can unmute yourself. Marcus is with the Jefferson Advisory Council. Go ahead, please. Tell us what you guys do and how you would like us to help.
Well, I'm not sure, and forgive me, I I missed work today. I'm not feeling well, but we the Jefferson Advisory Council is I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with it, but we are a nonprofit organization. It's kind of an arm of Seattle city government, and we work with the Seattle Parks and Recreation and the Associated Recreation Council. And this is a tough elevator pitch because the relationship is weird, but like Parks maintains the facilities, ARC staffs the programming in the community center. And so the Jefferson Advisory Council, we're kind of like an organization that provides oversight and financial stewardship of the programming options at the community center. And we've been around a long time, and we're the group that kind of owns and executes the annual Beacon Hill Festival. I've been on the council for like 7 or 8 years now. I was the treasurer. I was the only member of the council who was not retired, and in 2021, all the other council members who were already retired from their jobs, they also officially retired from the Jefferson Advisory Council. So as of last week, I was the only Jefferson Advisory Council member who was left, and I am tasked with building out a new council now. We have 3 volunteers who I'm really excited to work with and get to know. And we're going to be putting on a number of events this year at the park and the community center. We work with Betty Jean at Beacon Arts. They've been a strategic partner of ours for many years. But I wanted to come and introduce myself to you guys. And I actually attended one of these meetings. It's been a long time. I looked it up. It was actually 6 years ago that I came to a Beacon Hill Council meeting. And that was the last time. But I wanted to come and introduce myself to you guys and just kind of give a plug for the Jefferson Advisory Council. I'm trying, as I build out this new council, what I'd really like to do is try and get some representatives from other community organizations that are associated with or adjacent to or tangential to Jefferson Park. I know you guys used to have your meetings at the community center for one thing, and that was where I saw you guys at. And I'd really love to try and we've got the Beacon Food Forest, the Jefferson Park Lawn Bowling Club, and I'm trying to get as many the Beacon Business Alliance and Beacon Hill Council. I'm trying to reach out and see who all whether you guys have anybody here on your board or who attends these meetings regularly who would be interested in volunteering and joining our board. Like I said, we provide stewardship and oversight of the programming at the community center, and we plan and execute the annual Beacon Hill Festival. And I'd really love for that to be more of a community hub event. We've been, it's been around for a long time. We haven't done it during the pandemic, but it is a great neighborhood event, and I think it could be way bigger than it has been in the past. So there was something else.
That's okay, Marcus. We got the gist of it. Listen, we can help you with your recruiting. Send us a 1 paragraph on your recruiting, and we'll get it out to our mailing list and post it on our social media. You guys are really important. You've been a fantastic partner to Beacon Hill Council.
Okay. Well, thanks. We appreciate that. And it would be really great to have a voice from the Beacon Hill Council on our board, and we would, of course, be more than happy to, to follow suit and throw one of our volunteers up to attend your meetings regularly. Betty Jean, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
Well, just the Jefferson Advisory Council is where the community has input into what happens at our community center at Jefferson Community Center. And so it's an important role, and it's always been, I attend their meetings. I haven't joined that board because I have too many other commitments.
We've
But
tried to
I
get her,
do-
we've tried to get her to join many times.
I do attend, and Beacon Arts collaborates with them when they have art projects, but we also just need a strong voice, strong diverse voice representing our community on that board, so that the Parks Department and the athletic, or I'm sorry, the, what is it, the ARC, whatever
ARC,
that acronym,
Associated Recreation Council.
Associated Recreation Council, gets good input from the community about what our desires for programming would be for that, to serve our community. And one of the issues I think that is high priority right now is when the community center was reopened after first pandemic closure and then construction closure, ARC determined that they would close the preschool that had been there for many, many years. And so I think that's a concern, and that sort of thing the council has input on. And so if you have an interest, either, recreation, which is not all sports, could be other things as well, that you would like to see at the community center, or if you have, an interest in representing some faction of the community, or championing some service such as the preschool, that's the best way to do it, is to just show up. And you can come to a meeting. When's your regular meeting, Marcus?
We meet the second Wednesday of every month at the Jefferson Community Center.
And it's 6:30?
Yeah. Although we will not be meeting tomorrow because we had our March meeting last
It
week.
got moved early this month, yeah.
That's
So-
all right.
That was the other thing that I wanted to mention, Betty Jean, is the renovation. We closed the center closed throughout the pandemic, and the Seattle Parks and Recreation renovated the whole facility, and it's really beautiful and functional. And we're gonna have a kind of a grand opening event, coinciding with the Easter egg hunt in April. So I'd love to see you guys all up there. Come see it. Come look at the wonderful new community center and all the hard work that went into it, and we'll have a great time.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming. And as you know, my job is to keep the meeting moving. We will share that information, and there's ways to come without to give input without having to be a board member. I mean, that's something else. Okay.
You asked for a one paragraph summary. Is that
the next item on the
Thanks for
agenda
your time.
is the Pacific Hospital Public Development Authority. They have plans for cottage use for youth needs. And we have a couple of presenters, Katie Saunders and Sutaoka.
Maria, someone had their hand up.
I'm sorry, yes, we have to just keep moving. If you can put your chat, we'll probably be able to get an answer to you through chat. Go ahead, please. Katie.
I'm going to hand it over to Jeremy, who's going to be giving the presentation with Commerce, and then I will be part of the Q&A.
Go ahead, please.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Great. If it's all right, I'll share my screen very quickly. It looks like my ability to share the screen is disabled. Not sure if it's
Amy,
we're able to share.
Amy, can you co-host Jeremy?
Since I know we're running short on time, I can go ahead and just preface it with, again, my name is Jeremy Walker. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm with the Department of Commerce. This is my second time presenting to the Beacon Hill Neighborhood Council, and I really appreciate this time that you're all giving us to present. We were required by the legislators to do both a capital and an operations report on the quarters buildings, which are often referred by this group as the cottages. And so the presentation that I have planned for you tonight is to go over kind of what we did in that report, our methodology, and then answer any questions that you may have. We also have PHPDA board members here tonight. So if you have specific questions about vision or mission or the community, I would encourage you to ask them those questions. But we are happy to answer the report side and the analysis that we did. I'm going to try to share my screen again. Okay, here we go. Thank you so much. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yes.
Fantastic. So with that said, I'll go ahead and get started. For those of you who are not aware of the Department of Commerce, our mission is to strengthen committees, and our goal here is to offer over 120 different programs within these 8 major areas of community development and strengthening of communities. And just to orient you all, the PHPDA campus, known as the Pacific Tower campus, is located at the north end of Beacon Hill, for those of you who might not know. And many of you likely know it and refer to this campus as PacMed, which has a long history of providing medical services at the campus. Today, the campus is owned and operated by the Pacific Hospital Preservation and Development Authority. And PHPDA has been a close partner on these commerce assessments, and some of their board members are here tonight to provide further details. Here you can see the iconic Pacific Tower. The focus of these assessments are the quarters buildings, and they're located on the southern portion of the campus. Buildings 4 through 8 are duplex style homes that were historically used to house doctors and their families. More recently, they have been used as office spaces. Building 10 is quite a bit larger, and that was more of a old school dormitory style for nurses way back in the day, but it is currently being used more as office space as well. The assessments are not studying the tower, though we did consider existing uses across the campus. Commerce's team did meet with representatives from the North Lot development during the pre-development assessment to ensure they were aware of this study. The North Lot development broke ground, so it's on the other side of the building, and it will bring in new affordable family-sized housing to the site, as well as programs for seniors and daycare centers. So in the findings, I'm going to go over very briefly because there was a lot, but I'm going to just hit the high points here. Commerce initiated the quarters building assessments in 2022 by the direction of the legislature. And remember, there's kind of this capital assessment, and then you have the operations type assessment. So the capital pre-development assessment report really looked at assessing the building conditions, studying the feasibility of the range of issues, and developed some cost estimates overall. And so these are some rough ranges, and then included an equity and social justice review, which Katie will talk a little bit more about later, and then also did some engagement, so serving service providers and state agencies. Among them was the Beacon Hill Neighborhood Council and youth and young adults who had experiences with housing instability. The programming assessment and work group, that was led by our Office of Homeless Youth, and that work was done from July to December of this last year. And I want to emphasize that the work group that they created was really working with subject matter experts that provide services to youth and homeless folks. And those were really engaging with social service agencies and the PHPDA. So that was what the work group focused on. And what the report findings were really focused on campus offers a unique opportunity for supportive housing, a vision of youth and young adult wellness and supportive housing center, and a need for a central service provider to oversee the program. And I just want to emphasize this last point, that having an organization that can come comprehensively and work to facilitate all the different needs, it was essential, and that was a finding in both of these assessments. This is just a vision. It's not a plan. It's an example of what could be done in building 10. And so I want to emphasize the mixed use space and the potential for community space. So this is an opportunity for the community to have spaces on campus. And I'll let PHPDA really go ahead and share kind of their thoughts on this, but this is just a mock-up example of what could be, but it is by no means an actual plan. I wanted to point out, though, that in the pre-development assessment, there were findings and recommendations that we would need to make sure that it was accessible. So there aren't any ramps right now, as you can tell from the exterior of the building. So, and these are also historically preserved. So we would have to go through that permitting process to make some of those changes. The other findings were to have a youth and young adult wellness supportive housing center and to support residents as they move towards independent living, offer a continuum of care, and having compatibility with the diverse campus uses. So some of the current uses, students, people with low incomes, non-English language speakers, people seeking medical care, employees, and then near-term uses would be residents, families, seniors, preschool programs. And then the team considered diverse campus and adjacent residential communities as well. I wanted to make one quick point, and then I'm going to turn it over to Katie. At the very beginning, one of the efforts that we did was digging into some of the data. And so doing an equity and social justice review was definitely a part of the overall contract that we had with SHKS Architects and Makers. And they identified these 4 points, but I'd like for Katie to go ahead and elaborate a little bit further.
Sure, and I know that we are close on time, so I'm going to go quickly through these, but again, happy to talk more about any of these during the Q&A period of the presentation tonight. But mostly to just focus on that Commerce and all members of the project team recognizes there are diverse communities in and around the Pacific Tower campus, including Beacon Hill, Little Saigon, and that our project included that equity and social justice review to ensure there was really deep consideration of equity in both phases of the study. So the slide highlights some key or high-level takeaways, including opportunities for greater activation and partnerships on campus, the need for coordination to make sure that all programs across campus can work collaboratively together and share the space within the campus, the potential for some negative impacts from construction activity or et cetera, but most could be reduced or mitigated during design process. We're still very early. We're not in a design process yet. It's still very early to fully assess that, but wanted to spend a little time thinking about what are the potential unintended consequences that could come about as a study. And primarily, the Equity and Social Justice Review highlighted the need for engagement if the project does move forward through design based on the legislative decisions. So that's a brief summary, but happy to talk more about any of that during the Q&A.
Great, thanks, Katie. And then current status and next steps. We have reports delivered to the legislature for current session. Our second report, which is the operations report that I briefly went over, that's actually sitting with OFM, the Office of Finance Management. And so once that report gets released, it'll be turned over to the legislature. And then the team will also update the environmental justice review for the commerce, and future phases really do depend on legislative decision making. So, and that would also be referencing community engagement, lease agreements, and planning, design, and construction. That is all of my slides. I really appreciate you having the time for us. Do we have time for questions?
I think we want to hand it over to Sue right now, unless there's any follow-up questions to Jeremy's presentation.
Let's go ahead and hold off on the questions. Sue, go ahead, please.
Thank you for giving us this time. There is a mistake on the agenda. Virgil Wade, who is also with us, is the chair of PHPDA right now. I was just designated spokesperson for tonight. So most of you know about the Pacific Tower properties and the campus and all of that, and it's been around for for a very long time, and the PHPDA has been around for 40 years. We have in 2001, we did a master plan, knowing that PacMed was moving out of the quarters or the cottage areas and wanted to figure out what would happen with that. So we began a master plan and worked a lot with the community. We heard many things from the community, like that there was a need for meeting and gathering spaces, that there needs to be more mental health services and counseling. We need housing, an affordable housing, job training, and programming for youth. And then in 2022, after PacMed moved out, Commerce became engaged and did the studies that Jeremy just talked about. And PHPDA was a member of those studies. And one of the roles that we played in all of that was to make sure that our values of equity, health, and fairness, and the well-being of the community and members of the community were always part of the discussion and would be part of wherever we go. After much discussion with many people, it seemed as though there was a need to start thinking about what to do for youth and youth housing. And we believe that it aligns with our mission and our values, but we also know that we need to do it right. If it happens in this area, we need to do it right. We need to do it with a good vendor, with a good program manager, a program manager that will be accountable to the community, that will design the programs in a way that makes sense. We were very clear in all of our discussions that the youth that would be there would be clean and sober, that they would be out of, I don't quite know how to say, well, that they would be coming to us as more of a transitional and ready to be independent. And this would be their step into independence. We understand that Commerce will be putting out an RFP or an RFQ for a program manager later sometime this year. We will be involved and engaged, and we want to make sure that whoever is there will be designing a program that makes sense for the community and that will also be accountable to the community and to the needs of the community. You also may have heard that, well, maybe you haven't heard, that PHPDA submitted a request for $5 million for work in the buildings. That $5 million, we were asked to apply for it, and so we put in an application, and who knows if it'll come. It's not specifically for it to be for youth housing. It's to bring the buildings up to code. The buildings currently have been used for office space. We need to be able to do some ADA work. We need to make sure that people are going to be able to get into it. Roofs need to be fixed. The brickwork needs to be redone. Windows need to be replaced, so that there's a lot of work that needs to happen in those buildings in order for them to be useful for whatever use they have. So when we were asked to apply for this, we thought that would be the appropriate ask, and that it doesn't lead to any specific use. As we move forward, we're going to be clear about how we work, and this group will be, we will be calling on you to help us make sure that we're developing the program right, and that the program will make sense in the community. And you know, that's all I have. We at PHPDA feel like we are a part of the Beacon Hill community, and have been a part of the Beacon Hill community probably for 80 to 100 years. It's been a long time. And you know, and so because we're here, we're going to do what we do right, and we're going to make sure that we're engaging and involving the community in the discussions about what we do and how we do it. And so I'm open to questions, and I know Katie and Jeremy are also available for questions. And Jean Yun, who is our communications person, will probably tell me all the things that I didn't say and should have said. And Virgil is also on, and he's as I said, he's the chair of our council. So thank you.
Thank you, Sue. I just want to say it's 7:27. So I'm going to try this technique, which is basically people put your questions in the chat box. We have about 5 minutes, and at least they will know what you want to know. So go ahead, please. And because the thing is, as you get more specific, I think that's when community is going to weigh in more.
Mhm.
And I know this is not a one-time shot. So I really appreciate the value of engaging community and having an equity lens. Okay, Mark Solomon, do you have someone on the design team that's proficient in crime prevention, CPTED? Also, how does this project connect with the intergenerational housing that's been discussed in the North parking lot area?
I can take that question really quick. So this actually came up in the capital study that we did. Worked with Katie and with Levi Jetty, who is the project manager from SHKS Architects. So one of the really big challenges is that we do not have a project design right now. We don't have a specific knowledge of what is going to go into these buildings. So without that, it gets really tricky to know what are all of the things that need to go into the buildings or on the buildings. That said, there was a lot of discussion early on about that exact question that you raised, Mark. And so one of those questions was, okay, well, if we do need to put up security cameras for whatever reason, we know that that's going to have an impact on the exterior of the buildings, which is historically protected. So we need to ensure that we're going through the proper procedure to do that. If I may also, I just wanted to clarify one thing. Councilperson Taoka, you mentioned about Commerce putting out an RFP for a project manager. I will go back and make sure that I understand that, but as of right now, we do not have a directive from the legislature to hire a project manager. But you know, the legislature is in session, so they might tell us tomorrow. We don't know, but that is news to me. But I will go back and make sure and follow up with John. So thank you.
So can I answer the rest of that question? Oh, go ahead, Maria.
Yeah, I think there's an important question in the box, which is, do you have a sense of the capacity of how many young people would be served and how long?
Yes.
And with that, I'm just going to encourage everybody in your team to put their contact information in the chat box. And then, of course, you know, we'll have another round at it. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So the first question was around, have we had conversations with the folks putting together the programs at the North Lot? And yes, we have, so that they know what the conversation has been and have been engaged in a lot of the work that's gone on thus far. There's the capacity for 28 bedrooms, 28 beds in the quarters. And for how long, we're not sure. And that would actually be up to whoever's managing the program and how quickly and how well they're able to get people adjusted to be able to function fully independently. And was that all?
That's
Did I
it.
miss something? Okay.
No, you didn't. Okay. Well, I just want to say, everybody give them a hand for coming and always being proactive. So really, really super appreciate it. And
Thank you so much.
yeah, everybody breathe. We're going to move to the next item. We're realizing these are complicated items. We need to spend more time. Okay. And I know we're running 10 minutes late. My apologies. The Jefferson Golf Course renaming to Bill Wright Jr. Memorial Golf Course update. And we have from First State Golf Club, Rudy Horn, and First Tee, Evan Johnson. And they're working with Council Member Mark Solomon and Uber volunteer Kathy Colombo, who's our previous council member. So go ahead, please. Who would like to start? At least let's get Rudy to speak, so because he's got to leave.
Amy, can you give me share privileges, please?
It's done.
Thank you so much. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So I'm hoping you can see my screen.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Rudy, I know that you need to leave, so I'm going to ask you to get started. Rudy, are you still here? Maybe he had to leave. I'm going to go back then to this slide and to let you know that Mark and myself have been coordinating with community members. We now have about 20 stakeholders in the community that are supportive of renaming the Jefferson Park Golf Course to Bill Wright Jr. Memorial Golf Course at Jefferson Park. We're in the process, and if you aren't familiar with Bill Wright Jr., he was instrumental in, and I'm going to let Evan and Mark also take over because they are much more knowledgeable as golfers about Bill Wright Jr.'s achievements. He and his family were instrumental in starting First State Golf Club, which provides opportunities for all youth and for all people, specifically people of color, to have an opportunity to golf. They work closely with, and I'm going to hand it over to Evan to talk about First Tee.
Hi, everyone. I don't have great Wi-Fi, so I hope I don't skip too much on you, but I'm the program director of the First Tee of Greater Seattle. There are actually 150 chapters of First Tee around the country, and we serve King and Snohomish County. We were founded at Jefferson Park, and that remains our headquarters. So if you've been there, you might have seen we have an office in the main clubhouse just past the pro shop. And we also have some mobile offices up past the lawn bowling greens. And that's where we do programming, and we serve chapter-wide. We serve around 2,300 kids in golf and life skills programs year-round. And about 400 or 500 of those kids play just out of Jefferson Park. So we were founded in 2002 and started programming at Jefferson Park in 2003. And since then, we've served close to 20,000 kids in our area. So we serve kids from all backgrounds. We're a nonprofit, and we raise money so that any young person can participate in the golf and life skills program, regardless of how much their family is able to pay. So we've been really fortunate to see a lot of kids grow. And without a doubt, Bill Wright was one of those who helped form the foundation at Jefferson Park of diversity and inclusion. And we're just really proud of being able to serve kids at that facility with the rich history and heritage that it has.
Thank you, Evan. To go back to First State as well, First State as well as First Tee have actually started in 2009 a Bill Wright Jr. Day, and there is a plaque in the Jefferson Jefferson Clubhouse, and they have been trying since 2009 to raise up and to let the community know about Bill Wright Jr.'s achievements. And so we're really happy to be working with these two organizations, as well as the golfers and the golf organizations throughout Puget Sound and nationally, who are very supportive of giving Bill Wright the recognition that we all feel that he is due. We are hoping to have a celebration on October the 10th of this year to kick off our fundraising to create a statue or a bench to honor Bill Wright Jr., as well as our hope is that our vision is to have the golf course renamed at that time and to invite the community to participate. Mark or Evan, is there anything else you'd like to add?
The only thing I'd a couple of things to add is we did have a meeting with Councilmember Morales back about this effort, and I wanted to circle back in her office about this going forward to galvanize its support. And since the council members on, we definitely would like you to partner with us on that. We will be reaching out to the Parks Foundation because if we're going to be doing any kind of community fundraising for a statue or renaming, whatever kind of memorial, we will need somebody to be a fiscal agent, and was looking at the Parks Foundation on that effort. In terms of the golfing organizations, Premier Golf, which basically runs the golf courses, seems to be on board. U.S. Golf Association, through whom Bill Wright won his championship, is on board and very excited about supporting this. We've been in touch with the African American Museum about recognizing Bill Wright in the museum itself, as well as having their participation for this renaming effort. So we still have a lot of work to do, a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross, but slowly but surely we are getting there. We're hoping to have things together enough to go before the Parks Board in April to make our pitch. So that's all I wanted to add.
Kathy, if you can take down the slideshow, I can take a look at if there's any questions in the audience. That was very well done. Okay, not seeing any. Let's give you a hand and then we're going to move to the next topic. Thanks, everybody. Good job. Lots of work. Okay. I just want to check in. Hallie O'Brien, are you in the audience? And Ching Chan?
Yes, we are here.
Thank you, Hallie. Okay, everybody, this is the report back from the Seattle Department of Transportation presentation on the 15th Avenue bike path and safety improvements. So it's about 7:39, my apologies. And if we need to run late, we'll run late. Go ahead, please. Go ahead, Hallie.
All right. Me and Ching are just going to do a quick round of introductions with the team. And then we have a pre-recorded presentation that we're going to play and then open up for Q&A. And the presentation is from our online open house meeting that occurred last Thursday. So to kick off, I'm Hallie O'Brien. I'm our Bike Master Plan Program Manager at the city, and taking this project in our early design phases. And I'll kick it over to Ching.
Thanks, Hallie. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. My name is Ching Chan. I am the public engagement lead for this project with SDOT. I think we also have our PM here, Janet.
Hello, all. I'm Janet Lors. I'm the PM for this project. I'm with SDOT Capital Projects. And I think we have Brian here as well.
Yeah, PM project manager, right?
Oh, yes.
Prime Minister. Okay.
Prime Minister Janet. Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me and thanks for having us. My name is Brian Hamlin. I'm with the curbside management team here at Seattle DOT.
Okay. So bear with me here. I have not done this before, but I'm going to share our presentation, which that could be enabled really quick. Here we go.
And Hallie, I think you have to also share your audio when you get that queued up.
You know, when the blocking all of your tabs and you can't see them. All right. Let me know if you can hear audio.
And welcome. Thank you so much for your interest in the Beacon Avenue South and 15th Avenue South Safety Project, which is formerly called the Beacon Hill Bike Route. This is a pre-recorded presentation for our virtual public meeting, which is occurring on March 2nd, 2023. My name is Hallie O'Brien, and I am our Bike Master Plan Program owner. And today I will be presenting with Ching Chan.
Hello, my name is Ching Chan, and I am the Public Engagement Lead for this project. In this presentation, we will go over project background, what we've heard from the community so far, some safety improvements coming to 15th Avenue South, findings from the project area parking study, as well as our schedule and next steps. There will also be a time at the end of this presentation for you to ask questions. The purpose of this project is to improve safety for all travelers by calming traffic, create a safe and comfortable bike route connecting people to businesses and community destinations, provide a better north to south connection in Southeast Seattle, and improve safe access to transit options.
Where we are, so far we have completed an on-street parking study, designs for near-term safety enhancements, and public engagement on our preferred bike route alternatives. We're currently drafting our 30% project design that incorporates all the community feedback that we heard from this winter and fall. In the next coming months, we will install projects on 15th Avenue South to calm driver speeds and make it easier to cross the street. This project is being shaped by community input. Last fall and winter, we held community site walks and listening tours to see the project area firsthand and understand the safety priorities of people living, working, and visiting the neighborhood. We also distributed a survey to collect additional input. So far, we've received 1,000 comments from a diverse group of people living, working, and traveling in Beacon Hill. In terms of key themes, we heard that people want slower, safer streets for everyone on Beacon Hill, streets that are easier to walk, roll, and bike on with safe and convenient access to transit, and streets that are designed to accommodate small businesses and include common sense parking approaches developed in collaboration with the community. In our most recent survey, we asked what the current modes of travel people use most in Beacon Hill. The top 4 are those walking, biking, taking transit, and driving. However, when we asked surveyors what their preferred mode of travel would be in the Beacon Hill neighborhood, you can see that walking, biking, and riding transit increased or stayed the same, while driving a personal vehicle decreased. In terms of bike route alternatives from the survey, about half of the people who responded preferred a protected bike lane on each side of 15th Avenue South, which would mean bikes moving in the same direction as vehicles to feel safer and more logical. It's a more intuitive design for people walking, biking, and driving. Nearly a quarter of people, or 22%, preferred a 2-way protected bike lane on the east side of 15th Avenue South. We also heard a number of concerns. In particular, community members expressed concerns about unsafe driving, including speeding, cut-through traffic, aggressive driving, and drivers failing to yield to people walking and biking. They also talked about street and sidewalk conditions, including dim lighting, missing crosswalks, longer crossings, poor condition of the pavement, sidewalks, and poor drainage. Community members raised racial and economic equity concerns, feeling that the project will take away roadway space from current residents to make space for white cyclists from other areas traveling through Beacon Hill. Additionally, some community members are worried about losing parking, particularly for residents who don't have off-street parking options and rely on their cars to get to and from work, and don't feel there are enough people who bike to warrant removing parking. Finally, people shared concerns about losing access and want to ensure homes and businesses remain accessible and deliveries can reach them. We're taking all of this feedback into consideration as we refine and further develop our project design. And in the near term, we are making some improvements to address safety concerns.
Having heard the feedback and requests from community, we want to respond to the community's requests to implement traffic calming measures. We've conducted parking study in 2022, and we will work with the community on a parking management plan for the area.
This spring, in direct response from hearing community feedback, we will install safety improvements on 15th Avenue South between South Charles Street and South Walker Street. These improvements will include speed cushions to slow driving speeds, rapid flashing beacons to make it easier for people driving to see pedestrians, making it safer to cross the street, painted curb bulbs to make people walking and rolling more visible to drivers and shorten crossing distances, pavement repairs for smoother travel, refreshing green painted existing bike lane crossings to raise awareness for drivers, signs and paint where parking currently isn't allowed at intersections so pedestrians aren't hidden behind parked cars and trucks.
SDOT crews have recently repaved a section of asphalt near the crosswalk at 15th Avenue South and 14th Avenue South, near the Pacific Medical Building. We also refreshed the green paint for a bike crossing at this intersection to improve visibility and awareness for people driving. This paint refresh is a temporary improvement. More permanent treatment will be installed with the capital project. Parking study findings. The current project design will remove about 100 on-street parking spaces on 15th Avenue South. We conducted a third-party parking study in summer of 2022. What we learned from the parking study includes a better understanding of current parking capacity and demands in the area. The neighborhood currently has sufficient on-street parking to absorb parking losses on 15th Avenue South. However, parking patterns will shift and may not be as convenient as the present for some neighbors. There are off-street parking available to most homes, and alleys and side streets can accommodate loading needs in most areas. However, there is a very constrained segment along 15th Avenue South, the 2 blocks between 14th Avenue South and South Atlantic Street. This is due to steep slopes and no side street or alley access.
In terms of next steps, we have the safety enhancements along 15th Avenue South, which are coming this spring and will precede the larger capital project. We will continue to do outreach and collect community input on the capital project design, which is expected to be finalized in the end of 2023, with construction planned for the spring of 2024.
If you have any questions about the project, please do not hesitate to reach out to our team via email or phone. Our email is beacon, BEACON 15th safety @seattle.gov, and our phone number is 206-900-8728. You can also learn more and sign up for updates on our website and follow SDOT on any of our channels.
Thank you again for your interest in the Beacon Avenue South and 15th Avenue South Safety Project.
Okay, I'm going to make some comments to contextualize what's going on. There's several issues, and I just want to thank Haley because we had an opportunity to meet with the SDOT director and did a walkabout of the property. But here are the fundamental things that we need to follow up with the director.
And that concludes the presentation. We will go ahead and get started on our Q&A session now.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to stop
If I can
sharing.
ask the project team to please turn on your cameras.
Yeah, thank you. And again, there are certain practices that we're not happy about, which is the planning only occurred on the area that was going to be changed. And so, and again, working with Howie, there was a then review of the business area. It was a larger area. In other words, there's a continuing conversation that we need to do with the SDOT director. But the important thing tonight is that our community, in particular, the 15th Avenue Community Connectors, have an opportunity to have this dialogue with staff from SDOT, or at least ask questions. And that will put us back on track. And I think if everybody's, whoever can stay, will run over until about 8:10. So you have more time to really delve into this. If I may, I see Yes's hand is up. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Thank you so much for giving that presentation. As mentioned, I'm the founder of Smash the Box, which is an urban planning and design firm. I'm first generation El Salvadorian, and then also openly trans man. I bike everywhere. Owning a car for me is not feasible right now, living at MFTE, and I moved into North Beacon Hill to live in an amazing neighborhood. It's one of my favorite neighborhoods. With biking in North Beacon Hill or anywhere in North Beacon Hill or anywhere in Beacon Hill, there's no protected bike lanes.
Yes.
And
yes. We're tight on time. I know your goal. If you can get to the question, that would be super. Because there's so much in that box.
Sure. I would like to know why it's been understanding that this project has been, people have been wanting it since 1999 in the North Beacon Hill Design Review Plan. And since then, protected bike lanes on 15th Avenue. Understanding that we're wanting to fulfill Vision Zero, which means ending serious injuries and serious deaths. People have died on this road, being bicyclists and also pedestrians. And would like to know, why has it taken so long for this, now it's been delayed for over a year, for this bike lane, protected bike lane to happen in our neighborhood?
From SDOT, who'd like to take that question?
I can start off, and then anyone feel free to jump in if you have more information. So this project, it is a larger capital project, and due to the impacts on the community, we wanted to take a longer time making sure that we really touched all of our bases with public outreach and engage with the community to talk about impacts of this project. That's all I can see. I don't know if Jean has anything to add for the delay.
Okay, there are 3 questions in the chat box. Are you guys willing to ask your question? Or do you want me to just read it?
I was wondering if other SDOT teammates had anything else to say. Thank you.
I'd be happy to add something, just that, looking forward now, the project is in full gear at the moment. And you'll be seeing progress from this point on. We should have the project designed by the end of the year, and then you'll see construction starting next year. I know it can be frustrating. It does take government agencies a while to get things going sometimes, and especially with a project like this, where we do want to put a lot of time into talking to the public, because there are some difficult issues on this project that needed to be discussed and understood.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and read the questions from 2 people. The key themes of the project, it states common sense parking. Can you please identify what common sense parking means?
I think that was just word choice on our part, and saw that was pointed out multiple times in the comments, so we'll be removing that from future presentations. But I think we're just kind of looking at organizing space in a way that we can efficiently, fit as much of our uses that we need in the neighborhood there. I don't know, Brian, if you want to add anything to our parking.
Yeah, usually when we think of common sense parking, it's really what Hallie nailed, of like just trying to more appropriately organize the street, the limited right-of-way space that we have, which includes daylighting at intersections, having the appropriate signage in place, really defining the space that's there in a way that's appropriate and safe for all the different types of users that are on the road.
there's a person who was not contacted with ADA needs. If you can do that contact directly, that would be important. And then there's a question about, does adequate parking anticipate future higher density from the apartments and condos being built?
So with future development, I think they have the newer parking requirements. And they're expecting a lot of those places to take, you know, the light rail, which is in walking distance of the neighborhood, bike, which, you know, this project will provide a new safe biking connection, and also walking.
Another question in the chat box, I'm just gonna shorten it. Is there an RPZ, a residential parking zoning that's gonna be integrated into the plan?
I can take that. Yes, we're absolutely looking at expanding RPZ 17 in a way that makes sense for the community. We're very interested in expanding it on the north end on Judkins Street. We can add 2 additional blocks as a way to improve parking conditions for the residents that are on 15th. They'll give those folks more options to park using their RPZ tag. And then we're really open to discussing expanding the RPZ 17 on the south end. So thinking south of Massachusetts. So I can drop my email address in the chat. And I really encourage folks to reach out to us, because I think there's some good opportunities there, but we would like to be guided by the community as to what blocks we look at least for the south end of Zone 17.
I know one piece that has been discussed individually, not fully by the Beacon Hill Council, is as the city is the disruptor by putting the bike lanes, that there should be subsidized. We even said this to the SDOT director, subsidized or free RPZ parking. So we need to follow through on that with you guys, or at least your director. Let's see, a number of employees at the businesses don't live along the light rail, so they drive in, hoping that's been factored in as well. They drive in and sometimes they use the parking for their park and hide, as your SDOT director had said. So any comments on that?
Sorry, what was the question? It was if business owners are coming in and parking in the neighborhood?
A number of employees at the businesses. They don't live in the neighborhood, but they do park in the neighborhood.
Yeah, you know, expanding the RPZ, and then also their time limits, you know, 2-hour parking to encourage turnover, other mitigation.
I know you guys are seeing the comments on the chat. So there's other concerns about, you know, when it gets dark. So I'm just trying to troll through and grab the questions. I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat box.
Maria, I have a question.
Yeah, I was calling you. Kalia.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were going to be done with it. Yeah, so hi, my name's Kalia on the Beacon Hill Council. Yeah, so my question is, you know, back in March of last year, so pretty much almost a year now, you know, we've been saying the same thing over and over again about concerns specifically about parking loss and more specific scenarios, like Maria said, concerning the ADA parking spot, as well as that quarter-mile stretch, northern stretch of the street that has no side streets. And I'm wondering what exactly, I know, like, when, you know, I've been told some people have parking, some people have off-street parking. That's correct, but some don't. And so I'm asking about the people who don't. I'm asking who exactly, or who have you reached out to? What has that personal one-on-one contact looked like? I know we have a couple people in this meeting today who would fall under that category of people who need to be reached out to. And I'm wondering if you guys plan to complete reaching out to them before you wrap up the 30% design. Because as I understand it, once you get to 30% design, it's set in stone. So doesn't make much sense to wait until after that milestone to reach out to these specific stakeholders.
Thanks for that question. Oh, sorry.
You take it, Jay.
Thank you. Thank you for that question, Kalia. My name is Ching, and I know that we have done a couple of neighborhood walks with neighbors and community members to go over parking impact as well as what the project scope includes. One thing I do want to take a step back and just share is the 30% design. I know sounds like it's a lot, but it's actually the beginning of the design process. From 0% to 30% is actually our planning process. So that's more conceptual. And so once we hit 30% design, that's when the design actually begins. And so we do intend to continue to work with, definitely work with impacted homeowners and property owners and residents. But we're also going to continue to engage the broader public on the design, the overall design of the project. So just wanted to clarify that the design will not be set in stone at 30% design.
And then addressing the neighbors with specific impacts in those really limited right-of-way areas, we'll be reaching out to those individual property owners and having one-on-one conversations with them.
There is also a good question, which is a great request. Could we get a bike counter like we have on the Fremont Bridge so that there's a good sense of what's happening in the neighborhood?
Yes, we can look into adding that.
Okay. All right, I'm looking around the room. Kalia, do you have a new question, or is is that an old hand up?
No, sorry. I do want to clarify my question though for Hallie. My question is not what will you do? My question is what have you done in the past year since you said you were going to do something? So, but yeah, my hand was left over. Sorry.
So this past year, we've done a year-long outreach process where we had 3 pop-up events in person, where we had translators on site. We went in front of the light rail station, we went at the Pea Patch when it was snowing, and then we also went into the Red Apple Market. In addition, we did 2 community walks, one with the director, Leah, you were there, and then we did another one with Beacon Hill Safe Streets the same day. Yeah, so that's kind of, and then we also had the online survey.
Yeah, I meant like specifically, like you said, you're going to reach out to them specifically because these are very specifically like one-on-one cases. So I'm wondering if have you done the one-on-one reaching out yet?
We've not done the one-on-one reaching out yet.
Got you.
So is that a by when question? By when will you be doing the reaching out to folks?
That was the other portion of the question was whether or not that would be completed before the 30% design milestone is hit. That was the other part of the question, yes.
We'll be reaching out very soon.
Right.
And now that we have more design details, it will be a more productive conversation because we can know what we're working with and what we can offer.
Okay. There's a couple of comments on the chat box that I'm going to call your attention to, but they're not a question per se. Dee has her hand up.
Hi, Hallie. So it seems as if the RPZ zoning is being presented as a solution to the parking loss on 15th. And I'm confused about how you would know when you did the parking count that those were or were not cars that were actually owned by residents that were already parked there. I don't think we have a lot of parking height. The people that are parked on the side streets are residents, so their RPZ is not going to free up those parking spaces.
I can jump in on that one. That's a really good
Okay.
That's a really good point, Dee. And I can expand on that a little bit. So with our parking study, we noticed that some of the most parked up areas of the corridor, meaning the occupancy was the highest, was on the adjacent blocks of the PacMed building. And the occupancy numbers changed throughout the day in accordance to commuters going and parking, most likely for the PacMed building. So our assumption is that if we added those 2 additional blocks, which we could fit about don't quote me on this, I'd have to look at the numbers, but I want to say 10, 15 additional parking spaces on the north side of Judkins, probably more than that. If we made that RPZ, that would be more beneficial for the local residents, because that contrasts with what we saw in the parking study of most likely commuters or people that were going to the building for appointments.
So Brian, one of the issues that we had with that parking study is that it measured parking during the day. The residents drive their cars to work during the day, come home, and they need parking at night. And that's when parking is at a premium. And that RPZ won't help with that part of it. The PacMed people coming in, you know, that's going to be worse because parking is going to be removed from the east side of 15th, which is completely used by PacMed people during the day. But it's the residents who come home in the evening and don't have anywhere to park now that are going to be most impacted, and the RPZ won't help that, because if you go back and do the study at night, then those parking spaces are full, not with PacMed or commuters, with residents. So that's why I'm asking, is that and we did point that out and wanted the parking study to cover, do a better representative of the residents.
Yeah, and I can jump in and say that we do have the PM period counts. So that was included in the parking study. I'm not sure how much was shared that we have, but I do have access to that. And what we did see, yes, occupancy is higher at night because most neighborhoods in Seattle are. It still falls within our kind of range for desired occupancy. So it's not at 100% and it was below 90%. So that did show that there was additional capacity on the side streets. I'm not refuting that it's not totally parked up, because it's to a visual, if you're driving or you're walking on the street, you're going to see a lot of cars there for sure. But there is additional capacity based on the results of our study.
So is
and
that
I want to jump in really quick. It's 8:09, and I know we only had until 8:10 for questions, and I just want to flag two things really quick before we run out of time. And we are going to reach out. I think Ching sent an email, Maria, to schedule another time to work with this specific community and answer more questions. And that's going to be the week of the 27th sometime in March. And then also we are going to have these safety improvements that we're going to start construction on in June. And those are a direct response to concerns that we've heard from this group too, as well as your other neighbors, about speeding along 15th and safe crossing. So if there's any questions about those improvements that we're looking to install, maybe we can answer those really quickly.
So I'm going to look for that that email and make sure that the 15th Avenue connectors are there. One last question. Amy hasn't said anything yet. Go ahead, Amy.
Yes, I live on 14th and I live close to the Beacon Hill International School that has no parking. I'm just afraid that you put the RPZs, what's going to happen to that school with teachers and other staffing come in, because the area around my house is all full during the day. And also about question about racial and economic equity. I have a duplex of a tenant that's a blue collar worker that works swing shift that needs parking. So how are you going to address those as well? Thank you.
We're definitely looking at 14th Avenue as far as spillover impacts from our safety improvements that we're doing along 15th Avenue South. So we're going to be tracking to see if there's any cut through traffic that's rerouted on 14th. And then as far as parking concerns, we are looking to, what we can do to efficiently kind of plug it in on places. And we've identified 14th in some places to add parking. That will happen more as we get into further design with the parking management plan. And I don't know if Brian wants to add anything, but.
Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed it, Hallie. We've so I work with the curbside management team at SDOT, and we've been looking at essentially every single block face about within a 3-avenue catchment area of the project corridor. And we are turning over every stone, every couch cushion to see, can we add capacity? What are the pros and cons of adding that capacity? Are there any types of safety improvements we can do? Can we formalize parking? We're looking at everything. And we are going to put that together into a document that we'd like to be able to share with you all. We've been really busy on this because we know, I've been to several of these discussions now, and I know that you folks are very interested about this. It's a top priority. So we're taking it seriously and we're looking at it.
Okay, we're now at 8:12. If you guys can, John Hogan, what we can do for some of these is go ahead and put your SDOT staff, at least go ahead and put your emails in here so that these questions could be answered at least in some way. And I guess we didn't plan enough time. Next time we'll do better. But other than that, and let's thank the SDOT team for coming to the meeting and answering questions. Thank you so much. Okay, with that, we're just gonna move forward and do some announcements. So everybody, I just have a couple of announcements with regards to the legislature in action. Our sister organizing team, King County International Airport Community Coalition, really helped lift up a law that would share practices on how to reduce lead in the jet fuel, in the aircraft fuel. So that's one. And second is we have an amendment that we put in for the airport, the aviation needs responses. Right now, the substitute House Bill 1791 basically is saying that to meet increased aviation needs, it's really expanding airports or building a new one. And what we have been able to successfully do is to get that amendment that all transportation systems, air, rail, roads, and water systems capacities will be considered in addressing the aviation needs. So it's kind of a tenuous, because tomorrow is the last day for bills to get out of the Rules Committee. So we've been working overtime to get that to happen. But other than that, we're always in hope to take care and make our community much better. So thank you, everybody. And I see some smiles, so that's always good. And again, please keep coming to the meetings. Let your voices be heard and known. Okay. Good night, everybody. So appreciate you all for coming. And our board is going to stay because we have a board meeting based on the discussion that occurred during this community meeting time.